company that operates several nursing homes has denied dramatic allegations that it had placed Elizabeth Wettlaufer on a "do not hire" list before the nurse was revealed as a serial killer. A public inquiry had heard on Thursday that the company, Rivera Long-Term Care, had placed Wettlaufer on their blacklist under her maiden name, Elizabeth Parker. The new revelation has added to the systemic failures that allowed Elizabeth Wettlaufer to kill 8 patients and try to kill 6 others. The Canadian Press file photo. The name difference allowed Wettlaufer to end up working as a registered nurse at the company's nursing homes, according to Heidi Wilmot-Smith, president of Lifeguard Home Care, an agency that provided Rivera and other long-term care facilities with registered nurses to fill staffing shortages. At one of the Rivera nursing homes, in September 2015, Wettlaufer tried to kill resident Sandra Toller with an injected overdose of insulin. Wettlaufer worked for Lifeguard from January 2015, until she resigned in September 2016. She spent much of that time working at Rivera homes. Wilmot-Smith testified that the "do not hire" issue came to light after police began investigating Wettlaufer's crimes in October 2016. Wilmot-Smith said a senior vice president of Rivera told her that the company had suddenly learned that Wettlaufer was on the list under her maiden name. Article continued below. That's probably why they did not catch it, because Beth was practicing under the surname Wettlaufer, Wilmot-Smith said. Later in the day in cross-examination, a lawyer for Rivera called Wilmot-Smith's testimony inaccurate, adding that Wettlaufer was never on their "do not hire" list. Jennifer McAleer noted that a different Elizabeth Parker had worked for Rivera in Jasper, Alta, from 1986 to 2002. And the Elizabeth Parker in Jasper was never on the "do not hire" list. In a testy exchange, Wilmot-Smith insisted her recollection of her phone conversation with the Rivera vice president was accurate. "I wouldn't have been able to come up with that idea on my own," she said, referring to the alleged "do not hire" mix-up. Elizabeth Wettlaufer went by her maiden name until she married in 1997. Her husband applied for and received a divorce in 2008. The public inquiry is examining numerous systemic failures and missed red flags that allowed Wettlaufer to kill 8 people in her care while assaulting or trying to kill 6 others with insulin overdoses. Read more. Article continued below. Elizabeth Wettlaufer was called "Angel of Death" by coworker. Inquiry. Here's much of Elizabeth Wettlaufer's stained record not reported to College of Nurses. Inside the troubled life of Elizabeth Wettlaufer, the nurse on the night shift. Wettlaufer first tried to kill a nursing home resident in 2007 while working at the Crescent Care Home in Woodstock, ONT. She confessed, unprompted, to her crimes in September 2016, ending a 2-decade-long career as a registered nurse marked by numerous medication errors, suspensions for incompetence, and murder. The inquiry heard Thursday about one complaint against Wettlaufer at Crescent Care, where she worked 7 years and killed 7 residents, when she was seen shaking and smacking her butt at a resident. The resident was in a wheelchair, and Wettlaufer's butt was right at the resident's head, said Brenda Black, a personal support worker who witnessed the incident. "It was very disrespectful for the resident," Wilmot-Smith said. She had no idea Wettlaufer had been fired from 2 workplaces when she hired her in 2015. The College of Nurses of Ontario, responsible for protecting the public from bad nurses, was informed of both firings. But when Wilmot-Smith checked Wettlaufer's standing with the college, she found a spotless public record. Wilmot-Smith said she called Wettlaufer's former supervisor at Crescent Care, registered nurse Sandra Flutter, and was told that Wettlaufer was a "very caring" nurse and a "good team player." By the time she began working for Wilmot-Smith, Wettlaufer had already killed 8 people and assaulted or tried to kill 4 others. The first sign of trouble in her new job occurred a month after she was hired, when Wettlaufer didn't show up for a shift at the Telford Place nursing home in Paris, ONT. When reached by phone that day, Wettlaufer said she couldn't attend because she had been drinking. Months later, Wettlaufer revealed to Wilmot Smith that she was an alcoholic who had started drinking again. By April 2016, the director of care at Telford emailed Wilmot Smith to say she no longer wanted Wettlaufer to work at the nursing home. The email noted that a doctor at the home did not feel confident in Wettlaufer's abilities to assess our residents and carry out basic nursing duties.